Let's talk. I have tried to make this recording twice now, and it is deleted in the middle of it, and I lose the whole thing. And I save drafts at various points. It is still lost. I'm not doing well. I'm mentally screaming, and I just had an entire mental episode. My official diagnosis is OCPD. I only display 3 of the symptoms today, although I used to display 6. I don't really believe I have it really that anymore, even though I'm told it's kind of a lifelong thing. And I'm more convinced that I have CPTSD. I live in Florida, and it's not in the DSM, so I can't officially be diagnosed with that. I'm convinced I have it, and my therapist has basically said, well, if it were in the DSM. So what does CPTSD do? Let's have an example. CPTSD is similar to PTSD. I have had PTSD before. Most recently, in the fall. Not going into it. That's nope. The acute effects of PTSD pretty much have dissipated over time, every time. Not this, though. This thing has followed me like a ghost, or is attached to me like a shadow. I display pretty much all the symptoms of CPTSD. So on Friday, I told someone that I'm going to start talking about my mental health a little bit more openly, and I guess this is part of that. And so our church on Sunday has this volleyball gathering thing, and it starts around 4 and it lasts into the night. I went there at 4:30. I played a couple games, and during one of the games, someone was hitting a serve. I'm not a good volleyball player. I can strike really well, and I can also serve really well. I'm. It just depends. I'm really bad at the formation, though. Like that whole thing, like where if you're in a position within the court, I'm just bad at that. Bad coordination. I do my best, and over time I'm getting better. And I'm not opposed to suggestions, but I don't know. Like I was missing like these shots all the time because one person was serving and the person in front of me kept letting it come to me, and it wasn't quite in my side of the court, so I had to keep running up to hit it. And I kept hitting it on several times, but I just never made it over the net or never passed it to somebody. So someone who was directly to my right tried to give me a suggestion on how to hit it, and I just let that go. And then that person missed exactly the same shot, and so I was an ass, and I turned to them and I said, "Hey, maybe you should just try it this way." And I was a dick about it. So I realized that I was wrong. Nobody said anything to me. It's just I knew that I was wrong. And so I decided to go up to them and I admitted my wrong. And I said that was not appropriate of me to say. That's not the type of person I want to be. And so I just fessed up and I said, yeah, it's just like, you can think whatever. Basically it was like you can take this however you want to take this. But for me personally, it just was not appropriate to do that. And the person took it in full stride. Mine didn't. I immediately started this whole spiral of even when you want to be nice to someone, you can't be, and things hit you and rub you the wrong way, and you have like the fuse, the shortest fuse in the world, and all this stuff. And I really don't. Like, I'm really happy-go-lucky most of the time, but then certain things will just put me into a spiral of thoughts of how you're insignificant, how you are. It's just the worst type of thinking imaginable, and I can't control. It's referred to as an emotional flashback. And I can absolutely, it's like you're put in this position where you just like self-chastise all the time because you just don't feel as if you add up to anybody else, and you're already different because you are from this cult and all this stuff, and it's always followed. And I know that talking about this is going to make those who actually know me personally to start walking on eggshells all around me, and it's like, I don't want that. It's just I need to express how I feel. And I know that as soon as I say that, it's like people are going to start looking at me differently, even though I already am looked at differently. It's just the whole thing. So I'm like in a catch-22 situation. At least my mind puts me in a catch-22 situation where I feel the way I do. I want to talk about how I feel, but I know that if I talk about it, that people are going to treat me differently, or at least, I don't know. So I left. I left volleyball. I'm like, I can't handle this. I just need to go to a place that I considered safe. So I came all the way home, dropped some stuff off, and then my mind was like, no, go back because you told this person on Friday that you were going to start talking about like how you feel more and that you're going to put yourself in more uncomfortable positions in order to just bear through it and try to get out of this. So I went all the way back to church and I was asked because I didn't want to play. I just didn't. And not to mention that when I get in this state, I start jerking. It's like weird, like reflexes start moving around. The best explanation I have for it is like temporary Tourette's. I'll like snap my head a certain way, or I'll like whisper something under my breath, or I'll like jerk in a certain way, or I'll grab my arm really tight. And it happens in very quick succession. But when I was keeping score, I was able to keep my focus on the game, and I kept score really well. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, I can do this as long as I need to. And I was starting to feel part of again, like that fellowshipping was starting. So as I was starting to process things, I reached out to a discussion group among us ex-cult people, and it's like a support, like a type of group chat thing. And I just started expressing how I've been feeling. In the midst of me doing that, I was missing the scores. Like, I was missing the track of the scores. I'm like, you know what? I have to put this away. I'm just going to focus on the scorekeeping. And I did for the second game. Third game comes around, though, and it's like, I don't know what a court is. They start striking the ball, and I'm like, all these goals that not goals, but scores that I typically know, I was missing every single one. I was giving the other team the point every single time. And so automatically my mind is like, see, you're worthless. You can't do this. You can't do anything. Not even the simplest thing. And it went for like 10 points before all of a sudden a massive burst of flight or fight hit me. And I ran. I ran. I flew out of the gym. I ran to the car. I tore out of there and I came home and I didn't even do it. I just threw everything to the side, jumped into bed, curled into the fetal position, and I just like started hyperventilating, and then eventually I just went to sleep. I woke up about an hour and a half later and tried to make this video, but it failed twice. I know it's completely illogical. It is absolutely ridiculous the way I feel. But it's how I feel. And I just finished 6 months of dialectical behavioral therapy, otherwise known as DBT, and now I'm about to head into EMDR and I have no idea what really to expect. But now here I am sitting like, well, I just burst out of the room without an explanation. I just ran home and all that stuff. And I'm like, and I know it was super awkward and nobody texted me, which is totally fine. And I'm just like, but I don't know what to say the next time I go there because I just made a show out of nothing because it was nothing, but it was something because it was up here, but I can't talk about it. And ugh! So I decided I'm going to make a raw long form video because this is BS. And I would just love it if someone just tried to tell me, put your faith in the Lord on this one. It's not a magic wand. This very much adequately explained what happened today. And this too, even though the person said that it's okay. And in the middle of active trauma, I do very well. But afterwards, I'm a mess. And all of this matches me except the girlfriend part, and I have no idea who that artist is. All of that. My night terrors come and go. But everything else is all the time. Remember when I said I have OCPD? That's a personality disorder. And my therapist has totally told me that I'm in it for the long haul. Yep, all of those. And this is my response to anyone who says just trust in the Lord. I am Christian, but I am also very much aware that you just can't easily pray something away. Pray the gay away, for example. So that's me in a nutshell, with all the insanity that comes with it. I am who I am. Now I sound like God talking. Ehyeh asher ehyeh. So even though doing all this cult stuff is extremely cathartic for me, it's also put a lot of things in the forefront that I can see very clearly. Like me noting how I stand exactly the same way that he does. And with this cult, I know I'm not the only one. This is just a little bit of what cults do to people, and so that's why I'm sharing it on this channel. May it never happen again to anybody.